For this lesson today, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a little mini cactus garden. I'll try to tip this over a little bit so you can kind of see what it looks like. And we're going to create one by making a little press bowl, which if you, give me a second, you can kind of see this, see how the little cactuses are. I've got some little fish stones in here that you can kind of see. So we're going to create the bowl in it, and then we're going to add the little cactus to it. So we need to start by rolling out our slab for our bowl or our little container. So you need to decide, and we're doing a pressed container. So you need to, I have these little tools here that I bought recently, but anything will do. I've made some in the past, but you can use anything you have on hand. This is just like a little cookie cutter container. This is a battery container, or even I've used these before. Just anything that has a shape that you can press into it. So like I said, this is just a circle. Anything that has a shape that you can press into it. And you need to make sure when you roll it out, so I've got these two wooden slats, and that makes it to where I know it's going to be this thickness. So I'm going to roll out my clay, and I want to roll it big enough to where it's going to be larger than the area that I'm pressing it into. So if I was going to do this, that'd be perfect because I just cut around this here. And this is made to press into it, so it's got these beveled edges. But if you don't have something that has a beveled edge, you just need to give cut a little extra space around it so that you make extra room. So if this one I made for this, so I cut the extra edge around it so I'd have the edge of the bowl. So if it's something that's not made to press, you need to give an extra edge. But since this one's made to press, all I need to do is cut it to the size of the thing. So add extra if it's not something pre-made so that you have the lines. Then you need to get a large piece of foam to press it into. And we're just going to put this in the middle the best we can, and some type of foam or something that could just hold it in there, and you're going to press. And then while you're what's on here, go ahead and put your initials. And then you're going to pull it out. And that's our little bowl. See how it has a little edge? Now this is pretty soft right now, so I would go ahead and wrap some paper towel around it and get it to kind of hold its edge while we're doing our cactus. You don't want it to dry completely, but you want it to hold its edge. Hold its edge while it kind of sets up just a little bit. So while we're doing this, we're going to put this aside and we're going to work on our cactus. Now, you have all these extra pieces. So cactus come in all different sizes. You've got your flat circles, and those you're going to do. You can use, since we're doing small pieces, you can use these little pieces. Now clay, you want to make sure that you don't play with it too much because it will dry out on you. But like these circle cactuses you see a lot, you're just going to make your circles, some larger. Like it seems like the bodies of these are larger. Sometimes they're more maybe ovalish. When you connect something, get the shape you want, you're going to slip and score. And this just means you score it, and that's just roughing up the edge. This is a scoring tool. That's a scoring tool. It looks like a little rake. If you don't have one of those, you can just use like a little pen or a fork if you're working with bigger thing, and you're going to slip it. And slip is just liquefied clay. If you don't have slip, you can always just use water. Some people use vinegar, but water works just good. And you're going to stick it together. Now, I like to use a lot of clay because I let it sit here for like a minute or two, and I let it get a little firm, dry up a little bit, and then once it's a little bit drier, then I take it to paintbrush that doesn't have as much slip on it, and I smooth it out. And then that makes sure it has a nice edge. Then you just keep on putting your pieces together. So this one here is how I started this cactus here. I just pieced and pieced and pieced, and then once it was done, I put little dots in it with like this needle tool here. I put like little dots in it to make it look like it had little needles in it, even though, you know, cactuses actually have the needles. Here's what I talk about, what that looks like from the side. See how they're like connected together, little pieces. And I put those dots. So once you have it all how you like it, maybe this is a short one, then you're going to connect them to your base. So again, slip and score. So I scored that edge. I'm going to go back in on my base, my little plant container. I'm going to score that edge. So you're going to add your cactus as you go. And you're going to just set it in there. See how you can see how that's in there? I would on this one probably put a little tiny couple more little circles going off of it, just like I did on that one there. Now what I did is I went and looked up, you know, different succulents, and succulents are just like designer cactuses. Like this one here looks like an aloe plant kind of in a way. Now if you have clay that's soft enough and you're pinching it really thin, you know, I just kind of went like this, and then I did another thin leaf. And if it's thin enough and you pinch it together, you may not have to use the slip, but you got to kind of be careful. You may even, this is dry enough to where I may even want to put a little bit, maybe not as much. You don't want it to be too sloppy when you're pinching it, little pieces together. But I kind of wanted it to have that rough look of like, you know, some of those cactus with those thin leaves. So I kind of just built that up and kind of built it around. And again, slip and scored and stuck it down. Now you don't want them together because we're going to put those rocks in the middle, so it's kind of like a rock garden. Like in the desert when they have no grass, they have the rocks in between them. Some of the bigger pieces, you don't want it too thick, because if you have a big piece of clay that's too thick, it may have air bubbles in it. So you may want to have a bigger, thicker piece of clay. And then some of these, I kind of pinched it. You kind of pinched it, where I even had some tools. Where I rolled them out kind of like this, you know, kind of bulky, maybe in a triangle, and then went in and even kind of carved a little out of them, kind of carved that groove, kind of like that there, and then pinched them. But I kind of just went in and looked at some cactus and some pictures, kind of went with it. And I kind of have that look, they're kind of fat. And then some of them have those little, you know, circly flowers that maybe are kind of rough at the top. You know, and then they have them at the top, a little pink or, you know. Then again, this one has some quills, like out of the sidelines. You know, you kind of go with it. That's kind of what I did for these guys here. Same with here. This one's like that fan, the fan one. So I just went and looked. So you're gonna go and you're gonna do your base. You're gonna research some different succulent cactuses or whatever. You're gonna build them up. You're gonna attach them to your base. Then we're gonna fire it up. Then you're gonna add your little ground cover. And those are your cactuses, your cactus gardens.